There hasn't been a brand new Ace Attorney game in 9 years when The Great Ace Attorney 2 released on the 3DS. There's been re-release after re-release, temporary satiations for our lust, seeming to indicate that the series is not dead, that there's something more on the horizon. But I'm losing hope. I can't take much more. Please, Capcom. All I want is a brand new mystery-solving visual novel centered around a blue guy with spikes jutting out of his head. Yeah!
Hold it!
On March 31st, 2023, Sonic the Hedgehog made the following tweet. And yes, they were still tweets back then. Fuck you, Elon. We've been listening. A new direction for Sonic is coming soon. Not gonna lie, I was a little worried when they tweeted this because Chris Chan was released from prison 4 days prior. But thankfully, Sega decided to drop The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, a murder mystery visual novel developed by the Sonic social media team. This was very clearly an April Fool's joke, but a crazy high effort one. They spent a whole year developing this game, and I'm so glad that they did. More developers should do stuff like this, man. Like, come on, Capcom. Where's the Resident Evil spin-off where you play bingo against Leon S. Kennedy?
Bingo?
I also want to call attention to the fact that Sonic died on March 31st, the same day that Mario died 2 years prior, and Isaac Newton. But let's just take a look at this game real quick, because if it's anything at all like Ace Attorney, which is practically my favorite game series, I'm all in. We play as not Sonic, because he's dead. Peter Griffin style. No, this is our character. Apparently he's a Quokka, but I don't really know what that means. I think that's the website that keeps sending me like non-stop emails. Like, let's look at this one right here. Can you heat up KFC chicken in the microwave? Fucking yes, you can. What kind of question is that? We work on this train that's running out for events and stuff, most notably a murder mystery game. And our so very important job on this train is to work in the dining car and serve microwaved food to the patrons. Look at the conductor, he's so big and fluffy, and it's his last day on the job before retirement. The whole Sonic the Hedgehog TM crew come aboard the train to celebrate Amy's birthday, and I mean everyone. We got Tails in his cute little outfit, Knuckles is here with his cowboy hat from the OVA. The only ones missing are Charmy and Cream because children shouldn't witness murder, I guess. We take everyone's tickets, then boom, blam, train starts speeding up, we're thrown into the storage closet with Amy and Tails, and now the game truly begins. Okay, I'm not gonna spend this video going over every single plot detail, like, the game is free, you can play it yourself, and you should. I think it's worth it. Wait, hold on, hold it. That's the line. So, this is gonna get a little confusing. Everything you've seen up until this point was recorded and edited a year ago. For last April Fool's Day. And then I shelved the video because I decided I didn't like it. But now I'm back to finish what I started. So basically with this video, I want to take a look at the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog and analyze it through the lens of an Ace Attorney game. Figure out, is it a good one? If it is, what does it do right? If it isn't, then where could it stand to improve? And basically a year ago, I didn't feel like I was good enough to tackle this with the depth that I wanted to, but now I'm a bit more comfortable with my writing skills, so I'm back, baby. This is the mug you'll be stuck with for the rest of the video. Hope you enjoy, and let's get right to it. The main gameplay loop of the game is we enter a new car, talk to the people inside, investigate our surroundings, collect evidence, and start interrogating them about where they were at the time of Sonic's murder. This is Ace Attorney to a T. And part of the reason those games are so fun is because they're full to the brim with personality. The characters are so fun and interesting, and you're always looking forward to your next interaction with them. I think that lends itself really well to the Sonic series too, because unfortunately, just by the nature of the games, we don't get to see these characters interact with each other that much, and if they do, it's strictly to move the plot forward. This game thrives on its character interactions and little details. Shadow locking all the doors in a train to keep Amy far away from him so he can order tickets to her favorite band for her birthday, but accidentally printing out the homepage instead because he's old. Knuckles beating the shit out of a Super Monkey Ball arcade cabinet because Vector beat him. The sheer multitude of options you can pick when a bomb is about to explode, and you can literally go through each and every one of them. You get to go gambling! Woo! Yeah!
Smashbacks? Yeah, I don't think you should do that. Fuck you, Tails.
This game's just so cool, man. They even have a classic stepladder debate, which if you haven't played Ace Attorney, you don't know what that means. So basically, in any Ace Attorney game, just pick one. It's probably in there. You and your partner, typically Phoenix and Maya, but it depends on the game, often have debates about ladders. Over the course of the entire game, you'll see a ladder and you'll be like, oh, that's a ladder. And she's like, no, it's a step ladder. And then you have a whole debate about that. It's silly. It's stupid. It's not a joke that is well explained by me, but point being, they do something very similar in this game where our protagonist is just obsessed with checking the trash can in every car for clues, because there's gotta be a clue in this one, right? Trust me guys, there's a clue. There's always a clue. Trash cans have been in my family for generations. Which also raises the point that our protagonist is actually a character.
Everybody. My name is Markiplier.
He's got a snarky inner monologue that rivals Phoenix's, and it's pretty great. Now, I could praise the characters all day, they're so well written in this game, but I do have to stop eventually. That is super high praise though, because that is the most important part of an Ace Attorney game if you ask me. The character is what makes it such a good game. They're so fun and quirky, but they can also get serious when they need to, and it's that dichotomy that makes it so engaging. But speaking of engaging, we need to talk about the actual mechanics of the game now and figure out if they're sound. The speed of sound, maybe. So for starters, it's worth noting that this game is only 2 hours long. And with that in mind, I think it's only fair that we should treat this game as the equivalent of your first case in an Ace Attorney game, your tutorial case. These exist in every Ace Attorney game, with increasingly ridiculous reasons for why the in-game characters need a tutorial, but generally speaking, these cases serve to introduce new players to the game's mechanics, hold their hands a tiny bit, but also not treat them like complete idiots. You start out fairly simple, and then as you get further into the case, you need to use your brain a little bit more. Not too much when you're facing off against old Winston Payne over there, but still. And to get even more specific, the most relevant comparison we can make is to the Investigations games with Miles Edgeworth, which differ from the main series in that there are no trials. Rather, you're out doing your investigation, gathering evidence, and then you debate against witnesses and such right there in the field using your logic to outwit them. This is the exact scenario Sonic puts us in as we go car to car interrogating the individual characters. Given the nature of this game, it just makes the most sense to do it in a free-for-all style like this rather than try to shoehorn in both an investigation and trial segment. This is just one case, so for pacing's sake, it was definitely the right call to stick to one consolidated formula. But we can't tackle the debates until we gather evidence. Now, Ace Attorney gives you plenty of evidence, even during your first cases. There's a lot of confusing and seemingly conflicting things that you have to decipher, and better yet, you need to actively engage with them. Carefully read documents to look for inconsistencies with testimonies, and in some cases, physically examine evidence to look for extra clues. You have to be thorough, both in your examination of the evidence and actually finding it. The set pieces in Ace Attorney are plenty cool, but you don't have much to go off of for what to look for besides just whatever looks cool. Sonic does make this a bit easier because anything that you absolutely need to interact with has a bit of a bolder black outline, which you might not consciously notice at first, but I think it generally helps draw your eyes there. Now, that being said, you get like 2 pieces of evidence per room max that is only relevant to that room and the characters within. So yeah, it is incredibly easy to figure out what you need to present when you debate, because the questions leave literally only one choice, and even if you happen to be wrong, there's no penalty, so you could just brute force your way through here if you really wanted to, but if you feel the need to do that, then I'm so sorry. Part of me does wonder if I've just played so many of these games that this is actually hard and doesn't faze me anymore, but I don't think that's the case. This game is easy, and purposefully so. We can look at this as baby's first Ace Attorney game, because if you get any amount of gratification from this gameplay loop here, then you would absolutely love the real games that don't insult your intelligence. Which brings me to an interesting point. I might be the first person to ever say this sentence, ever. Ace Attorney is a game about momentum. No, you idiot. Sonic's about momentum. Are you stupid? Okay, so when you play an Ace Attorney game, it's a constant feedback loop. In investigations, you are constantly interacting with things, getting unique, funny lines of dialogue, and adding more evidence to your inventory. It feels good to do that. A good sound effect plays. That's the drive that keeps you going as you get ever closer to the truth. And then in the actual trials themselves, that feeling is amplified tenfold. You quickly get into the flow of pressing witnesses and countering their testimonies with contradicting evidence. And when you accomplish that for yourself and present that correct evidence after using your brain, it is the purest form of dopamine release ever. If there's no momentum, it's just not a good mystery game. Now, in some ways, this game accomplishes that. The way it's set up by moving car to car does make it pretty clear how much progress you're making, but the actual events that transpire in the cars are, well, far less satisfying. That eureka moment doesn't really exist here. There's no broad gap between the testimony and the evidence that you need to bridge with your logic. No, the bridge is right there, as long as you're not blind. How do we know Knuckles was playing arcade games? Because the shit's broken. It's smashed. He's standing right in front of it. Tails says that someone saw SBO reading? Alright, well, let me present the only piece of evidence I have that pertains to a person. I wouldn't mind this as much if it ramped up over the course of the game, but even in the literal last debate, we spend all this time pinning the killer without lifting a finger. But then, when we do have to do some gameplay, they ask us what the murder weapon is. Gee, I don't know, maybe the fucking blow dart that's sitting right there, the only thing in this room that could even be considered a murder weapon. And even with that being said, it's still a relatively engaging story, all things considered. The characters are fun, seeing them in this wacky scenario is entertaining, and you want to hear more. But then, when you present evidence, this happens.
What? Wait a minute.
They put a Sonic game in my Sonic game. What the f? The main idea of this game that's stated over and over again is, what would Sonic do? This is the thought process that our character and Tails follow to a T, because the only way your actions can possibly be validated is if Sonic approves. These are called think minigames, and it happens every time you present a piece of evidence. They're kind of fun at first. It sort of reminds me of a classic Sonic special stage maybe, or on the topic of visual novels, Danganronpa. I'm not ashamed to admit that these games mean a lot to me. I actually played them before I played Ace Attorney. That's the reason I got into this series to begin with. So yeah, I'm gonna be playing 2x2 when it comes out, don't worry. Point being, the trials in those games often include mini games to help reach conclusions as well. But in those games, they're varied. It's not the same thing every time. It's unique. They spice it up. Also, it actually feels like there's a point to these, because while yes, the point of the Sonic minigames are to string your logic together, that doesn't really make much sense given what we're seeing on screen. Whereas in Danganronpa, it does make sense because the visuals of the minigame actually correlate to the exact mystery you're trying to solve. You're solving Hangman or some shit. You're doing something that's actually related to the case at hand. Sonic doesn't really do that. You need to collect a certain amount of rings to get your brain functioning, and that's it, over and over again. Does it get harder over time? Yeah, but it's still tedious. I probably sound pretty stupid for complaining about them putting gameplay in a video game, but for me personally, it just ruins the whole flow. Because as soon as you're actually getting into the mystery and that momentum is building, they stomp on the brakes and crush that momentum. Which is pretty ironic considering that's the exact opposite of what we're seeing on screen.
What's it gonna be, Melissa?
Sonic.
I like to get high and just go faster than the speed of fucking light. Turn around, Melissa, and get ready to whoop some fucking ass. Keep going. Get those fucking rings. Hell yeah. Oh, come on, man. Do a fucking spin dash. Do a fucking spin dash.
Now I know why they do this, or at least I think I do. It's so that there's more appeal for Sonic fans who might not be into visual novels or who've never played them before. But also, it's padding. Because they knew this game was easy, so they added cute little mini games to sort of extend that playtime a little bit. And on its own, that's not a harmful thing. But they cram these things down your throat. You will get 3 of these mini games in a single debate. Every time you present a piece of evidence, it's just stop and go, and I can't fully immerse myself in either of these things because of it. So is this on the level of an Ace Attorney game? No, but that's not the point, and how could it be? This is their first time ever doing something like this. As much as I'm criticizing this, it's astounding that they put this much effort into a fucking April Fool's joke, and I'm not doing any of this to put down this game, I'm just using it more so to explain a little bit of why Ace Attorney works so well. It's a great game, it's carried by the characters alone, I truly believe that. The writing is great, and since this is just a 2-hour experience, I think that's enough. For what it is, it's amazing. And I would happily recommend this to any Ace Attorney fan, and like I said earlier, I hope the same goes for Sonic fans. I hope they can play this game and maybe get into Ace Attorney or similar games because of it. I'm sure the developers would be happy to hear that. And as I reached the end of this game, it started to resonate with me in a way that it never did 3 years ago. I wanted to make a video on this game back then, shortly after it came out, but I never did. And I'm glad I didn't, because I didn't truly appreciate it back then. The end of the game sees our cast of characters finally unearthing the truth that this train has been a badnik the entire time under Eggman's control. And this train is sentient. It's developed feelings of attachment for the conductor of the train who it spent so much time with, the conductor who's retiring today. As Eggman offers any badnik who can capture Sonic and his friends any reward they desire, this train moves full steam ahead, orchestrating the entire murder mystery, doing whatever it can to secure the reward, because it wants nothing more than to stay with the conductor forever. It feels betrayed that he's trying to leave, taking it personally. And for as much as I may have complained about these think sections earlier, I was actually so emotionally invested in this final one, where Sonic is chasing after the train as it begs and pleads to be with its best friend forever, refusing to accept the change, refusing to accept that people move on and nothing lasts forever. Sometimes you have to let go. We're all living our own lives, and there's no telling where we'll be 5-10 years from now. So all we can do is live in the present and enjoy the time we spend with our loved ones so that when it's eventually time to let go, we can do so with no regrets. This train's entire purpose was to be dedicated to the conductor until the very end. But at a certain point, you have to stop living for other people and start living for yourself. Because if you make one person your purpose, your reason for living, you'll get hurt one day. And obviously that's not saying to exclude other people from your life. Seek companionship, yeah. But you also need to love yourself and have a reason to live beyond other people. A reason to live for yourself. That's something I've struggled with for a long time. Still do. But I'm trying. Even making this video is a part of it. It's for me. I'm not doing it for anyone else. I'm making this video for me. Because I had some shit to say about a stupid 2-hour-long Sonic game. It's always Sonic with me, isn't it? I don't even like Sonic that much. I don't know how this keeps happening. But as the train finally comes to a halt, and Sonic and the gang finally exit from the train, the conductor meets up with his wife at last, ready to go on that vacation they've been yearning for. But before they do, they're greeted by a new friend, the Flicky that was imprisoned within the train, fluttering and chirping around them. Because every end is a new beginning.